All right, hello everybody. As we'll see, a couple people starting to dive in, so we'll go ahead and get underway as everybody's still loading up. But yeah, welcome. You might notice it's a bit of a new voice here on commentary for Star Cup Round 4 here in Austria. Glad to be joining you. Vacant Haddock or Vacant, as you can see by the channel that we are live on. And yeah, happy to be here to fill in. We got a full 20-car grid, but a whole bunch of standard, what you'd expect, but largely all new for me. So we're just going to kind of call this on the fly, have a good time, enjoy our Tuesday night, or potentially, depending on where you're at, may very well be an early Wednesday morning. But yeah, again, should be a good one. T-Bone did give me kind of standings, so at least I know that we got a couple of favorites in here. I believe Oliver Spurl is on there, as I believe that is Formula Olive. And then where is Mato here? I don't know if Mato is here, but again, we'll call this on the fly. We'll see what happens, and I hope you'll allow me to be a little bit unpolished. We'll see how it goes. But we got a Red Bull leading us out of the pits. It's Jay Jackin, who's going to be first out on track here in qualifying. Yeah, very short lap here around Austria. Obviously, again, with me being new here too at the Star Cup, definitely going to be interesting to see how some of this continues. But hey, very well might also be a little bit of warm-up for if I decide to do some IRL F1 commentary. So we'll see if that pops up. So I'll go ahead and plug my channel just a little bit if that's something that might interest you, if you enjoy the commentary going on right here. But I believe 11 corners, second shortest circuit on the F1 calendar, only longer than Monaco. But a quicker lap time round here. Plenty of overtaking opportunities. It's actually going to be the Ferrari of Dookie Munker, who will jump on board with to take us around the first lap here of qualifying. And of course, very crucial to get that final corner right. Make sure you don't run it out too wide as you come across the line to start the lap. Got the run up into turn 1. Again, another place where you got to really attack that inside curb, but really be careful of track limits along the outside. And you got the best overtaking spot on the circuit coming up as you blast up the hill to turn 3, as turn 2 is that little left kink. Slow the car all the way down, and then traction, very important out of turn 3, as you blast down into turn number 4 and through the third DRS zone of this lap. Of course, hard braking down here for turn 4, where we've seen multiple incidents happen in real life, where people getting pushed on that gravel to the outside, and then now into 6, which, again, depending on how much downforce you're running, may just need engine braking. Same thing through 7 here. And then I believe it's 8 and 9. And then you blast down into turns number 10 and 11. Important to stay off the sausage curbs that you can see just on the outside, and then really go after this final curb. Carry as much speed as possible around the final corner, push to the line, DRS open, and the bar is going to be a 104.755, set by that Red Bull of Jay Jackin, who was first out the pits. The two McLarens coming across the line in second and third temporarily. Got a couple Hasses. We got one of the Mercedes cars coming through the final corner. That's T-Bone on and out lap, so we'll jump on board with the V-Carb of Purple Snake. V-Carb, of course, going for a big switch-up on their livery for this year. Got that beautiful white livery, which will be a joy to see next game. And Purple Snake, my guess, is going to be taking a second go at it, 107.4, with his first lap. But a pretty busy circuit right now. We'll jump on board with the Keck Sauber of Dastardly Daddy. Yellow flag, not for a crash, so everybody still in this session. But the Sauber are going to invalidate there at the final corner. And again, definitely would expect some more of that to potentially happen in the race. Track limits certainly going to be a concern and a consideration for a lot of these drivers as they look to get laps in. So XOD, again, one of the few with a lap time on the board as of right now. Oliver Spurl goes 7th quickest. Big mistake at some point in that lap. And the Haas of 83 Go Ham is also going to run wide there and invalidate. He'll still get his lap, and that would have been a 106.5, so that would only put him ahead of Snake. But again, not too many lap times popping up on the board as of right now. We got, again, the Red Bulls coming to the line, but only one still with a lap time on the board. I believe that's a Williams coming around the final corner, so let me try to find it real quick. That is AZ Racing coming through the final corner. The Williams is actually going to go onto the grass there and is going to lose a chunk of time, but it's a 107.1 for him. So again, only slotting ahead of Oliver Spurl. His teammate, meanwhile, Fred 1974, he'll make his way around the final corner, running out of ERS on that run to the line, but it's a 105.7. So much closer to the pack than his teammate, but still is going to have to pick up a lot of time, and is a second off of that provisional pole time. Oliver Spurl, meanwhile, up 4.8 seconds, and is going to go top of the order for Alpine. That's a 104.488 from him. So great lap time for Oliver Spurl on his second push. And that's a used set of tires for the Alpine. So can he drop that time any further on a fresh set? Of course, we'll have to wait and see there. Jay Jackin, meanwhile, down through his first two sectors. He's going to come to the line, is going to improve, but by just over half a tenth, so not enough to improve significantly. We got a V-Carb Snake in the gravel. T-Bone currently 8th. Snake goes up to 7th. But again, not too many drivers out on laps as of right now. The Sauber of Ski 2 Bike on a push lap, as is the Red Bull of Liederliebag. So we'll stay on board with the Red Bull before jumping to the Sauber. So Liederliebag, only 11th quickest, 105.9 from him, so not a great lap time in comparison to the field. Here comes Ski around the final corner, and again, it might be the same thing. It's going to be quicker than Liederliebag, but again, only 105.883, so not a great lap time from him either. So a couple of drivers, potentially still trying to find some pace. Driver that I missed, XM, we'll just call him XM in this instance, did slot into 7th. As T-Bone, meanwhile, 3rd quickest, he's going to pick up a half a second, 105.0, but still a bit of a jump there to the top of the order. But a good lap time from T-Bone. Got a Haas coming through the final corner now. That's Lihava Mato, who I believe is 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. So he'll come across the line, and he'll go 3rd quickest, so he'll leapfrog T-Bone. But again, still 0.3 off that top of the order, as Oliver Spurl, comfortable here in the early stages. And Spurl actually going to seemingly disconnect from the session, so hopefully our provisional pole sitter can make it back. Dastardly Daddy, I think one of the few drivers out on the lap right now. He's pushing through Sector 1. T-Bone is not improving. Dookie Monster has invalidated. So again, flicking through most of the grid. Not too many people out on laps. Looks like both Mercedes out on an, running an out lap as of right now. Liederliebag making his way through Sector 2. But again, it's comfortable here from the Alpine. Let's see the Ferrari from P7, Dookie Monker. Imagine he's starting to push now, so keep an eye on that Ferrari lap time to potentially come down. So we'll stay on board with XM as he comes into the final couple of corners. Though again, maybe a second kind of warm-up lap, get that Aston Martin right into the frame he wants. He's actually going to improve by a quarter of a second, so I was wrong in that analysis. But he'll improve by a little bit. Liederliebag getting set up for a lap. We got a Haas and a Sauber coming to the line. I believe, actually, that was Dastardly Daddy coming to the line, but a not super competitive lap. Doogie Monster's teammate, meanwhile, getting underway with a lap. Here comes Dookie Monker, who's going to have to get out of the way of that traffic there, as the Aston Martin trying to stay out of the way. Dookie Monker, meanwhile, down over a second. So a pretty, decent mistake in that first sector means that Dookie Monker probably going to be diving into the pits here, which he looks like he will, and he will. So he'll abort that lap. Liederliebag, meanwhile, picking up about a 10th in that first sector. Making his way now through the middle part of the circuit. He's going to invalidate, though, after going up a shade over a 10th. So again, track limits has definitely been a bit of an issue as all of the drivers here push it to the limit. Menzo, meanwhile, 45.3 through the first two sectors. I briefly did see a purple sector pop up there, though it may just be a personal best. We'll stay on board with Dookie Monker's teammate, who Dookie currently sitting in P8. That lap time won't be good enough for pole. It'll only be good enough for 11th, 105.335. So still some work to do to try and catch his teammate. But kind of slotting in there comfortably. Jay Jackin, meanwhile, making his way through turn one now. We'll jump on board with the man who provisionally sits in second position as he blasts up the hill. That's Alimo in the meanwhile, going P4, so jumping up towards his teammate. And that's Jay Jackin, I think, up pretty significantly in that first sector. I briefly had to burp and look away, so I missed exactly what that time was. But we'll stay on board with him as he blasts down into turn number 4. Again, really want to try to carry as much speed out to that curb as possible. And then again, try and really open up these next two corners. And again, it's all about carrying speed all the way back to pretty much turn 1 if possible. If you can get an overtake done there. But Jay Jackin making his way now into Sector 3. I see only 2 more corners in the lap, but the hardest place to keep it within track limits. It's going to be a clean exit there from Jay. So what can he do to the line? It's not going to be an improvement. Still sits at 104.697. XOD up through the first sector, so he currently sits in 10th. I'm trying to find the drivers coming around the final corner. We'll jump on board with Alamo, who is on an in-lap there. And I believe that's one of the V-Carbs coming to the line. Doesn't look like he's on a push lap either. So we'll jump on board with Lahava Mato, who down 2/10 through the first two sectors on his second go of things. So he'll push through the final corner now, really getting out close to that track limits, but keeps it within. Going to end up down 3/10 though. So again, not a, drivers I think struggling to find some improvement based on those first laps. XOD meanwhile up about half a second on his lap. So whereas some drivers have been struggling, he's going to pick up over half a second, almost 0.6, and he's going to join Lahava Mato on the second row, 104.699 from him. As one of the Mercedes, both Mercedes, currently starting in the top 6, so looking to take the fight to Alpine potentially. Purple Snake not on a competitive lap. We'll stay on board with Fred here in the Williams as he now makes his way through Sector 2. Of course, currently sitting 14th, needs at least 2/10 to find any sort of advantage. He's got 3 through 2 sectors. So Fred starting to find a little bit of pace. Can he potentially find any more pace in this second sector? Try and jump up into that top 10. About 5 minutes left to go here in qualifying. Here comes Fred through the final corner. What can the Williams do? He can do 12th fastest, so certainly an improvement, but slots in between leaderly bag. DRS Maestro, meanwhile, in the Aston Martin has brought is going to bring some extra fight here. As a 104.526 from him, as he jumps up a number of positions. And I don't know if Oliver Spurl has been able to return yet. I know he disconnected, but he has remained in the pits. So hopefully we can get him back. Meanwhile, Jay Jackin up 2/10 through 2 sectors. As there is Oliver Spurl, so finally getting back in. Here comes Jay around the final corner. He's going to pick up a 10th, so again, it's an improvement from Jay Jackin, but not enough for him to be able to pick up any positions at the start of the grid. But again, just inches that ever a little bit closer to now, DRS Maestro. But it's a track not very busy right now. Only driver really out on a lap, as it stands, is the V-Carb of Zudi, who's currently provisionally 20th. Was actually picking up time there, but is going to dive into the pits. I think he made a mistake in Sector 2. That little flash there, indicative that Oliver Spurl has returned. Again, whether it was just on my end or not, I am unaware. But who knows? 83 Go Ham, meanwhile, going to retire from the session, so he does not think he can improve. or potentially doesn't want to jump up the order because turn 1 at Austria, very big challenge. Fred also going to retire, so that'll leave us with 18 drivers trying to put laps on the board. Ski 2 Bike, meanwhile, as Sauber, not really competitive right now, currently sitting 16th and 18th. So Ski coming through the middle sector. Actually, has he backed off there? He has backed off. Or at least has seemed to have backed off. As that engine doesn't seem to be running at full steam here. He's down about 7/10. So I imagine we're going to see the Sauber dive into the pits as well. But a number of drivers, coming on out laps. Potentially trying to take a double warm-up lap here. And then kind of work from there. And, try and see what exactly happens. Leader Liebag getting underway with a lap. So we'll keep an eye on if he can improve. Actually, that may have been a lap from him, 105.938. But does seem to be continue to be pushing. So we'll jump back to the Red Bull in just a second. Meanwhile, the other Sauber, that is Dastardly Daddy, coming around the final corner into the line. He's just getting underway. So can he improve his stock from P18? Clip Menzo on an outlap. Leader Liebag obviously is on a push, as I believe is the Ferrari of Dookie Monster. T-Bone as well on an outlap, so a number of drivers working their way through Sector 1 will jump on board with the Ferrari, see what his pace looks like as he makes his way through the second sector timing marker. As he comes through, I believe that's 7 and 8 now, and he's up 3.5 so Dookie Monster flying here early. We'll jump to Leader Bag briefly. He's up significantly less. He's only up about 1/3 of a tenth, and we'll also be sure to jump back, see what T-Bone can throw down. But Dookie Monster looking to push Ferrari up to have a starting position in the top 10 is going to go 6th quickest, 104.744. Leader Liebag, not sure what happened to him. T-Bone a little bit wide, but manages to avoid track limits, is going to improve, but only up to 7th. If that was an improvement. Leader Liebag, meanwhile, remains in 12th. So not an improvement from him. Alimo on a lap. I believe that may have been an incident there. I thought I saw debris, but nothing popping up seems to indicate that anybody down. XOD, meanwhile, up a 10th through 2 sectors. He currently sits 4th. Can he potentially take the fight to the front of the field? XOD through the final corner, and he goes fastest, 104.398. So the new bar set for the top drivers here. Jay Jackin making his way through the first sector, and he's found time through a pretty simple first sector. Oliver Spurl out on what will probably be his final lap. Jay Jackin, meanwhile, has lost it, trying to come out of turn 3. Just gets too heavy on the power and cannot improve. I Took Ya Dogs, meanwhile, 5th quickest for McLaren. Both Ferraris up into the top 10. T-Bone not on the lap. Alamo down in the first sector. He's making his way through sector 2. And he's going to be down even more. Dastardly Daddy going to retire from the session, so it might come down to Oliver Spurl, who down 1/4 of a second through the first sector, and this will be the final lap times of qualifying. So Oliver Spurl, XOD may have just stolen provisional pole here in the dying stages, 2-1, and that is qualifying. We'll jump to the Red Bull of Jay Jackin is leading the way, but is not on a considerable lap. XOD is behind him, and I don't know if there's anybody on significant laps right now. Clip Menzo around the final corner. He's down in his lap. There's an invalidation there from his Ferrari teammate. La Havamato, though, up 3/10. Can the Haas do anything? Oliver Spurl will not improve. DRS Maestro behind may be another driver to keep an eye on. But the Haas currently sits P6, comes through the final corner. La Havamato keeps it within track limits. Here he comes to the line. La Havamato steals pole. Can Maestro do anything about it? He cannot. So, here in Austria, if nothing changes, I believe Dogs and Dookie not on a lap. T-Bone not on a significant enough lap. Leader Liebag is improving, but it shouldn't be enough. So it should be La Havamato here. As Leader Liebag comes to the line, it's not going to be an improvement. He'll remain 13th, but it's La Havamato stealing pole barely over the Alpine of XOD. It's going to be Oliver Spurl and DRS Maestro behind them. But it's the final push lap of this qualifying session, or the final improvement of this qualifying session that has made the difference. So it's the Finn on pole. And it should be an interesting one. Austria definitely produces some good racing, some very tight racing. And we'll, of course, have to keep an eye out for any potential changeable conditions as well. But, should be a very interesting race. Obviously, got the top 5 separated by only 0.2. Top was at 8 separated by half a second. And it, takes going down all the way to P16 to get further than a second behind. But should be a good one. 36 laps of racing to come. And turn 1 and turn 3, known to be rather chaotic instances. So, of course, we'll have a brief break here on the grid, which also gives me a chance to grab a glass of water, because based on how that qualifying session went, I am expecting to need it. So, yeah, I sadly don't have a water sponsor. That would be cool. And, yeah, luckily it's not a beer this time, because over in LSR, where I do a majority of commentary, definitely be sure to check that out as well, if that's somewhere else you may be interested in racing. That is, I forgot to use this glass as a measuring thing earlier, so no water for me. But yeah, have a history over there of not making sure that my beer is flat enough before I open it, and then have to scramble for a towel and clean up my desk. So we'll see. We'll use that transition to say, we'll have to keep an eye out for if there's any changeable conditions in this one, because, Austria definitely has been known for its occasional wet weather race. It's an attempted segue. I'm not sure if it's a good segue, but we're going to try it. But again, just waiting for the drivers to ready up on the grid. Good on comms and fast on track. Thank you very much. Yeah, definitely could use some work on wheel, but controller definitely my preferred method of rolling around the track right now. But we are on the grid and ready to go. So 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we are underway here in Austria, and it seems to be a good getaway from Mato, who's going to pull easily clear of the Mercedes starting P2. And everybody going to make their way through turn 1. You have, of course, got the scramble off to the outside of the track. But seemingly everybody through turn 1. Okay, as I say that, there is a V-carb of Zudi who seems to be in the wall. And so by the time we get up to turn number 4, we're going to get a virtual safety car here. And so everybody, of course, going to have to check up. Zudi in the wall. He's down a front wing. And I think there was other front wing damage potentially up somewhere on the grid. As actually we go to that wide shot, nothing quite there. So everybody else seemingly getting through okay. It's only Zudi that's down, but that'll neutralize racing briefly. So we'll get a bit of a racing restart here, which gives me a chance to go ahead and pull up the tire graphic. But it's mediums for almost the entirety of the grid. The only exceptions are T-Bone and Zudi, both going for hard. Zudi's strategy, of course, going to be down the drain now that he has to go get that front wing. Make it a little bit of a time saved because everybody has to respect that delta. But we are back to green flag racing. And so we'll get a rolling restart, and we'll effectively get 35 laps as we get underway. And it's a good restart from XOD, who's going to go to the inside here at turn number 1. Going to back out of it, though, as Mato able to get enough straight line speed to hold him off. But DRS now going to be activated. Rear wing of the Mercedes opens up. Going to look to the inside here. There's the Alpine of Oliver Spurl, though. They're also looking. He's going to go to the inside. Spurl gets the Haas. Can he get 2 drivers in one go? They're going to be side by side, and it's going to be XOD with potentially a better exit, but they're going to bang wheels, and it's Spurl taking the advantage here on lap number 2. Started third. It'll take advantage of DRS and take the lead here on lap number 2 after the brief virtual safety car. It seems that 83 go ham also with damage on that first lap as he had to dive into the pits. And he's swapped to the hard compound of tire. But at the lead, it's Spurl leading fairly comfortably. XM as well, kind of trying to climb up the field comfortably, now splitting both Ferraris. If we get a chance, once the kind of opening lap salvos die down, we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the early position changes in this one. But 2 drivers already in a little bit of trouble. Leader Liebag going to dive into the pits now, so potentially front wing damage on his car, as potentially due to drivers checking up to make sure they don't get drive-throughs. Also into the pits, Ski 2 Bike the leaders running up into turn 1. Here's XOD once again looking to that inside. Oliver Spurl going to go half defensive, and XOD going to tuck back in. So we'll try to get him on the exit, try to get that second helping of, or effectively third helping at this point of DRS as they run down into turn number 4. Going to be trying to potentially use a little bit of energy too. Going to take that peek to that inside, but Spurl braver on that break, on those brakes. Goes a little bit deep though. We saw how good of an exit XOD got, but he couldn't do anything with it there, as he's going to have to stay behind as we make our way through Sector 2. Yellow flags, that's for a Salver. That is for Dastardly Daddy, who has gone round. No damage on the Salver. But again, going to mean that he falls off of this train. DRS very powerful in this game, so very important to try and stay in that lead train for as long as possible. And Spurl looking to try and maybe start to make that breakaway, pulling out a lot of time in that second sector. There's XOD running a little bit wide, so potentially track limits warnings for the Mercedes. But again, they're going to go blasting up the hill, and the kind of drivers in the background just going to have to sit there. DRS Maestro, though, going to the inside in this battle for P3. The Haas going to have to try to be a little bit deeper on the brakes. Going to be able to carry more speed through as well and get a good exit. And, of course, both drivers with DRS. So you got to use a lot of energy. I took your dogs, meanwhile, going to be looking around the outside. I believe that's the Red Bull of Leaderly Bag who's gone wide. So a couple of drivers towards the back struggling to find grip. But DRS Maestro and a lot of other drivers managing to hold on to positions. So I'll go ahead and hide that real quick so we get this beautiful little helicopter shot as we run down through Sector 3. But again, a bunch of drivers just kind of holding position. You can see drivers taking peeks here and there. That was Jay Jackin, who you saw bounce to the inside very briefly. 83 as well. I think just really struggling. I think potentially not getting that front wing changed either. So that's what's maybe led to him being a lap down already here on lap number 5. Jay Jackin, meanwhile, going to be battling with I Took Your Dogs. Jay finding the inside there. Good move from him. But a bunch of pack checking up. So it's led to a little bit of contact. Ski 2 Bike, meanwhile, first to receive a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. And again, XOD trying to find that way through, but Oliver Spurl, just with that, seems to be very, very confident on those exits, able to just really put the power down comfortably and just pull away. But again, strategy may be the name of the game here for some of these leaders. So it'll be very interesting to see if we do see anybody trying to brave a medium to soft strategy. I think medium to hard, certainly much more manageable, much more probable. But will we see anybody be brave? Could we see, I guess T-Bone at this point as Alamo picks up a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. So he is certainly still in this fight, as all of the top 12 really in this. It's really only once you get back to 13th place that the pack starts to spread out. As again, the leader's running up into turn 1. Here's XOD, I think again, closing, looking to that inside. Is going to go to the inside here. Of course, is going to be pinched, and that's the leader going round. Oliver Spurl goes round. Was that due to contact with XOD? Lahava Mato, meanwhile, going to take the lead of this race. So XOD, because, turn 3, it's really hard to go up the inside there just because of how much, understeer you can get just due to the nature of that corner. So was that contact between XOD and Oliver Spurl, who now drops all the way down to 10th, and now is going to have a lot to do if he wants to climb back up. But Lahava Mato in that Haas now takes the lead. Here comes DRS Maestro looking around the outside, and he's going to take P2. So XOD starting to maybe lose a little bit of pace here, as he seemed to get a really poor run through there. And in lap number 7, we have a new lead fight. And it's between the Haas and the Aston Martin. Bellastiu, meanwhile, jumps up into 8th. Clip Menzo going to drop 2 spots there through turn 1. But, of course, that chase pack starting in 8th, not going to want to fall too far back off of that lead pack if they want any chance at a win. You got Dookie as well, kind of defending that inside. But Lahava Mato defends pretty comfortably. T-Bone, meanwhile, going to try to go past Oliver Spurl. He's going to actually take evasive action and go very wide there. Bellastiu, meanwhile, has closed up but doesn't have DRS, so it should keep with that fight. Both Alpines, though, managing to keep ahead of the Mercedes of T-Bone. So there's been a lot of action here in the early laps of this one. As XOD making his way through the second sector, but Jay Jackin now putting him under pressure. And in 2 laps, is XOD going to... And that's 2 laps in a row now, where we've seen somebody attempt to and successfully pass the Mercedes. Because that third sector, very rare to see an overtake there. So did XOD potentially pick up some damage there and is trying to manage it now? Or is it potentially setup related, where he's just trying to push and now there's just a little bit of imbalance? Maybe he's trying to fight back that little bit too much. After that contact a little bit earlier with Oliver, that's the Williams of Fred around at turn 1. He seems to have managed to gather it all up. And so it seems that we'll not have a safety car here. Meanwhile, I missed a lead change here as I was looking at that yellow flag. DRS Maestro now takes the lead. If I'm not, that was most likely down at turn number 3. But we do have what is now our, I believe, 4th leader of this race. But it's the green machine now leading the way. And now what was earlier really a top 12, top 13 has now really become a top 9. And again, you got the likes of Blastiu really just trying to hang on to the back of this pack. You can see T-Bone there in the background just trying to maybe catch back up, hope for some battles into turn 1. But it's very tight between the leaders. And so it's going to be DRS advantage now on the Haas. Can La Hava do anything about it? He will not briefly. XOD going to tuck back in as well. And so they'll go single file. La Hava Mato actually looking down the inside there, so potentially being a bit braver on the brakes. It's going to be a drag race now down in turn 4, but it's La Hava Mato with the DRS advantage, so he'll retake the lead after a lap sitting in second. And DRS Maestro, meanwhile, again, manages to hold on there in P2, so is still in a comfortable spot. And again, you can see just how tight this lead pack is. Of course, that one of those cars is the ghosted lapped Red Bull of Leaderly Bag, who's among some of those drivers who potentially just really struggled to either get those settings right when diving into the pits, and so not getting a front wing, or just kind of struggled on the fresh set of tire, and the race really just has not gone his way. But it'll be a La Hava Mato leading us across the line once again, start of lap number 10. So I guess while we're on here with the leader, can take a chance briefly to look at some of the position changes. And it's pretty stock all across the board. Of course, you got the likes of Oliver Spurl in there in 5th, who's one of the big losers in this one, as DRS Maestro goes to the inside, takes that position. There's also a Tukia Dogs there in the background looking around the outside, but I think Dookie Monster manages to hold on. And La Hava Mato now going to try and hold it as we run down. DRS Maestro looking to the inside, and again, gonna have to tuck back in. A little bit wide there, though, from the Aston Martin. Red Bull potentially taking a look, and again, you got the Mercedes and Red Bull just waiting in the wings, trying to take advantage. But as I was saying, Oliver Spurl lost 5 places due to that potential contact with XOD. Again, didn't have the greatest angle to confirm whether that was what happened or not. And they got Menzo and Leaderly Bag down 6 spots as well. But, you know, other than that, not too many drivers jumping up loads of spots. 2 for Maestro and Jackin, down 2 for XOD, up 2 for Dookie. I believe, yeah, that is the ghosted Leaderly Bag, trying to get his lap back. And of course, on those fresh mediums, he'll have that little bit more pace. But this may work to La Hava's advantage as well, because if he can start to form a DRS train, as here comes DRS Maestro looking to the inside. Not going to find anything there, though, and it's actually going to be Jay Jackin who has to take evasive action. But going to come very close. Emmanuel Vega saying XOD is going to win. I think that, you know, certainly XOD, one of the favorites right now. I think, you know, La Hava Mato's up there. Oliver Spurl has been climbing back up the field. He's back up into 4th after dropping as low as 10th due to contact with XOD about 5 or 6 laps ago. So still plenty could happen there. Meanwhile, La Hava Mato, Dookie Monker getting a 3-second time penalty, and he's in this lead group. So warnings potentially starting to pile up for this lead group. But La Hava now with a chance to be comfortable here. Yellow flag in Sector 3. Who is that for? I believe that was for somebody diving into the pits, as we got Oliver Spurl actually diving in the pits early here on lap number 12. So the one-time leader dives in the pits, and that's because he's got damage, which he did not set to get fixed. So Oliver Spurl's day goes from bad to worse. As you can see, that front wing end plate is missing, as you do have to manually set that from auto to yes, I want that front wing changed. And so Spurl now potentially going to have to box again, but is really going to be hoping for a safety car made for today. Just have to try and salvage some points. But certainly going to be a challenge from him. Meanwhile, a bit further back, Tokia Dogs struggling to try to keep with the top three. His teammate Blastiu there in the background as well. Dookie Monster as well, or Dookie Monker, apologies, diving into the pits with Oliver Spurl. So that's why he's now down into 14th as Fred picks up a 3-second time penalty. So we'll go ahead and pull back up tires so that way you can see how they are aging across the field. But again, if you're Lahavamato, I was going to say you just do everything you can to stick with that Red Bull of Leaderly bag. Try to keep DRS for yourself. But not going to happen here. The Red Bull pulled out a little bit too far away. The Aston Martin looking for that inside under brakes. Going to make contact with the back of Lahavamato, but seemingly no harm, no foul. No damage caused. Meanwhile, Took Your Dogs up to 5th. Blastiu up into 6th. XM holding on in 7th. Again, just trying to keep with the back of the pack. And T-Bone keeping a solid pace there. Keep an eye on the Mercedes on the hard compounded tire as this stint continues. But it's Lahavamato still in the lead. And XOD still putting pressure on Maestro. So he's really got to keep that pace solid. Again, you can see XOD kind of really fighting that car through that twistier section. Just trying to keep that car under him. Blastiu and I Took Your Dogs, meanwhile, swapping position as Dogs going to dive into the pits. So we got another one of the leaders looking to dive into the pits for an early tire change. So I'd imagine it's going to be hards here for the McLaren. Of course, slows it down to 80 kph, and it is going to be a set of hard compound tires going on the Papaya machine. He'll get released, and so we'll have to see where he comes out. It actually should be comfortably ahead of Oliver Spurl, depending on how quickly he can make his way through turn number 1. There's the Alpine, of course, who does have that damage. Here's the McLaren coming out the pits, and it's a good, comfortable recovery. So he'll come out in 10th, and he'll have a good bit of time, and potentially somebody to work with for a brief moment in Oliver Spurl to potentially go chasing, to potentially try and get that undercut, rather, on those cars ahead. Meanwhile, at the front, it's still Lahavamato with the lead, but it's now started to become a bit of a 4-car fight here. As Mato, Maestro, XOD, and Jay Jackin have started to pull away here at the front. Again, that Red Bull that you see ahead of the Haas of Lahavamato is the effectively lap down Leaderly bag, who has already boxed today, so he is not a effective factor here for the lead. As again, a number of other drivers coming in. Blastiu going to dive into pits. He'll lap on hards. XM going to do the same. Tries to stick with the McLaren. Alamo going to do the same. So we'll see where I Took Your Dogs comes out, as he's actually been overtaken by Oliver Spurl. As potentially tire warming a little bit of an issue. Here comes I Took Your Dogs. Again, remember, he was with his teammate of Blastiu. He's actually going to come out comfortably behind. So potentially jumping the gun is Dogs, as he's now down into 9th. And of course is behind a car with damage. But is that just Oliver Spurl's pace in free air as well? As even with that damaged front wing end plate, he seems to be really flying. But again, Blastiu now is your leader on the fresh set of tires. That's going to be really interesting to see how this continues. I believe that's an Aston Martin of Maestro popping out to the inside, telegraphing that he's diving in the pits. The Mercedes going too as well, as does Lahavamato. So 3 of the top cars dive into the pits here. That's going to leave Jay Jackin in the lead. I don't know if there was any damage on those cars coming in, because it looked like the Mercedes did have to check up there. Maestro, good stop from him. XOD looked to struggle to get away, and AZ Racing making his way out. So here comes Blastiu down the pit lane and into turn 1. So where's he going to come out in relation to the leaders? And it seems that we're going to have another fight on our hands coming out. Here comes Balastiou, and of course those tires are warm. He's not going to have DRS here running up the hill, so it's going to be a straight-up drag race between him and Maestro. Maestro with the inside, but on cold tires here, is going to hold that inside. Balastiou tries to stick it around the outside. Going to have the better exit as there's 3 wide here coming out of turn 3. The Aston Martin nowhere to go, going to be banging wheels. And it's going to be DRS for the Mercedes as XOD takes the lead of the drivers on that fresh set. There's the Alpine going down the inside. Bit of an ambitious move there from Spurl. He's going to get 2 places, but kind of forcing his way through as everybody's scrambling on a set of tires. Jay Jackin, meanwhile, going to dive into the pits. And that's left Lahavamato, meanwhile, to open up a very comfortable lead here, as it's now a 2-second advantage over the cars ahead. And that's a McLaren round. That's Balastiou, who had to take to the gravel. Jay Jackin, meanwhile, has damage that he picked up at some point. So that's 2 drivers now down on front wing end plate. There's Lahavamato running into turn 1. And here comes the pack. And for Jay Jackin, I think he's going to have to fall to the rear of it as of right now. Again, especially without that DRS, going to be a real challenge to try and catch up. Now T-Bone kind of on his own here. You can see Mato chasing there in the background. Spurl and Maestro battling side by side there. I think that was a bit of a defensive move there from Spurl. As took your dogs in the back of Maestro there. Bit of an odd interaction. Not sure if that was an early lift from Maestro just to try and conserve a little bit of ERS. But here comes the McLaren now looking to the inside. Going to think better of it, though. As took your dogs, now the lone McLaren up here after his teammate dropped well down the order. T-Bone, meanwhile, remains out on track. And it's going to be XOD who continues to kind of fall off the back of him here. As Lahavamato just showing lots and lots of pace here. And I think it's a question to ask, is there damage on that Mercedes? There is damage on that Mercedes. So that is why XOD has been losing a chunk, so much time in comparison to Lahavamato. The Mercedes leading the chase pack also has damage. DRS Maestro looks to the inside of Spurl, looks for potentially 2. Going to have the slower exit, though. Going to be compromised there, so Spurl able to manage this damage and is holding up cars that are in better shape than he is. Here comes the McLaren looking to the inside of the Aston Martin. He'll get it done under brakes. Looks to go to the inside of both, but gets caught up with Oliver Spurl, who tried to keep it tight there and parked on the apex. Took Your Dogs does manage to get DRS Maestro. But now can he manage to find a way through on 2 cars ahead of him, managing damage? T-Bone, meanwhile, up there at the front, still yet to pit. As yellow flag in Sector 2, that's for, I believe, Zudi, who went a bit deep there at Turn 1. He's managed to recover that machine. But Lahavamato, again, continues to pull away. And again, this is a battle from the chasing cars. And if you're Took Your Dogs or Maestro, you might very well be thinking, hey, I have a chance to go and win this race, and I'm being held up by guys with damage. I can drag you along. Let me through, but it's a DRS train between the top 2. Here comes Oliver Spurl looking to the inside, looking for a podium place. Of course, he's going to slow on exit, contact with the Mercedes, bouncing them both wide. Here comes Took Your Dogs now to the inside. He'll jump up into 4th, and is this an opportunity for the McLaren to jump up into the podium spots? It is. Can he manage to hold this position through turn number 4? He gets a length ahead. The Aston Martin of DRS Maestro tries to find a way through, and once again, Oliver Spurl gets turned. This time, the contact seemed to be initiated more by Maestro, but it's Took Your Dogs up into the podium places, and now with a chance to start to pull away, and maybe, just maybe, go chasing after Lahavamato. Oliver Spurl going to retire from the session after having contact again with another driver. And so I believe that is your championship leader, and his day has just gone from bad to worse. As again, that is the end of his race and the first retirement of this session. Shouldn't bring out any safety cars. Dookie Monster, meanwhile, getting a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. DRS Maestro now finding a way past XOD as the 2 drivers who have made some form of contact with Oliver Spurl at some point in this race battle away. They're both gaining now on the McLaren of Tukia Dogs, who's going to defend all the way to the inside. Here comes the Aston Martin trying to find the long way around. Contact there again, but the cars managed to hold. Attempted block there from Tukia Dogs. It's going to be XOD sweeping around the outside, and so it's XOD up into the podium places as he finds a way through. So now it's XOD leading this chase back, and again, it just becomes more and more of a challenge for the likes of Dogs, as now Lahava over 5 seconds of cars behind, and is gaining on T-Bone, who of course still yet to pit in this race. And will probably have to do so soon. DRS Maestro now finds a way past Ituki Dogs. So those tires on the McLaren potentially starting to wear a little bit. Here comes DRS Maestro looking for around the outside of XOD. He'll get there comfortably by the braking zone. Again, that yellow flag there is for the retired Oliver Spurl. XOD, though, going to be coming back with DRS. And potentially a little bit more straight line speed due to the lack of downforce on that front wing. Not going to be able to find a way to get by into turn 4, though. T-Bone, meanwhile, still in the lead. But I think at this point, just looking to hold on. I imagine we're going to see the Mercedes dive into the pits here. As will he pull to the right? As here comes the Haas down the inside. They'll battle side by side here as I accidentally flipped away. And it's going to be the Haas of Lahava in Sector 3, retaking the lead here on that fresh set of tires. T-Bone, I think, going to try to hook on and try to go chasing after them. DRS Maestro, though, leads and now sets a new fastest lap of the race for Aston Martin. As on lap 22, he is now responsible for trying to chase down Lahava, as actually T-Bone looking to give Lahava a fight, as he has the DRS advantage, and he's okay compromising the group at the front, because if he can get everybody to fight and get everybody to lose time, that gives him more of a chance at picking up some additional points. But for now, we'll stick within DRS. DRS Maestro, meanwhile, has closed up rather significantly in just a lap, I think in no small part, thanks to T-Bone. But he'll continue to push here as that gap coming down to about 4 seconds, so definitely keep an eye on it. 83 go ham as well could be a factor in this, as he could lead to the likes of Maestro gaining DRS assistance earlier than he would otherwise. And that'll be worth a couple of tenths a lap, as T-Bone's still opting to stay out here. So a bit of a surprise there from the Mercedes, potentially just trying to bank on a safety car at this stage. So I'd imagine once you get to this point in the race, it's very much a, hey, let's swap on the tires now. Meanwhile, the Red Bull of Jay Jackin gets past Itukia Dogs. So again, the McLaren maybe a little bit harsher on tires. The Ferrari of Clipman 20 looking to make a move. He pulled right up to the back of that Aston Martin very quickly. Going to be able to get a nice little block pass in there as he'll slide up into P8. DRS Maestro, though, will have DRS actually, so he'll be able to hold off XOD. But yeah, thanks to 83 Go Ham being the back marker there, has managed to close up, and he's picked up about, actually, I was going to say he picked up about a second this lap, but Lahava now, with clean air, starting to pull away. Again, if you're T-Bone, I just think you have to consider pitting before this chase pack catches up to you. But when does he opt to pull that trigger? Again, going to continue to stay out here. But the gap from T-Bone back to the gap from Mato back to Maestro is at about 5 seconds. 83 going to dive into the pits, get out of the way of that fight. Blastiu, meanwhile, finding a way past Itukia Dogs as the McLaren swap places. XOD, meanwhile, 3 seconds due to track limits, so that could really affect his race. So here comes a Red Bull to the inside. Jay Jackin looking to the inside of XOD. As Red Bull and Mercedes going at it again, potentially a little bit of contact there, a little wiggle there from the Red Bull. It's going to mean that Mercedes gets a bit of a better exit. Here's the Red Bull tucking in. He'll bounce to the inside, be a bit braver on the brakes. He'll get that car ahead. Can he stay ahead? As again, a little bit of a wiggle there under brakes for Jay. So they'll remain side by side, and it's again another good exit there from XOD that allows him to stay ahead. Maybe looking for the cutback is Jay, but nothing in it, and that's going to leave DRS Maestro now in free air to potentially go chasing after Lahava. Of course, he's got 12 laps left to go. T-Bone's finally going to dive into the pits as the chase pack catches up with him. As you can see, that Mercedes getting rather squirrely. Lap 25 of 36, and I'd imagine it's going to be softs slapped on T-Bone's machine. Actually, no, it's going to be medium, so we'll have to see what he can do. But DRS Maestro now has to make up 5 seconds in about 11 laps, but luckily has some solid, clean air to do that. Tokyo Dogs does have a time penalty, as does Dookie Monker, picking up another. As there's a Red Bull with a really slow exit there. Clipman gets I Took You Dogs. He's going to try to get Jay Jackin as well. So is that potentially more contact? That's going to boost Belastiu up into 4th now. So it's now a new McLaren. As you can see, Clipman and Jay Jackin beating and banging through turn 4. It's the Ferrari with the inside. They're going to make contact again there, and they're going to connect and go into the wall, and that's a car out of this race. Jay Jackin and Clipman get connected, and that will bring out the safety car here on lap 25. La Havamato immediately diving into the pits for a fresh set of tires. It's going to be DRS Maestro opting to stay out. XOD will dive in. Belastiu dives in. Here comes I Took You Dogs. And so I think a big mistake there from the Aston Martin. But yeah, that was just Clipman and Jay Jackin getting connected. And just EA physics not being kind means that we have our second retirement of this race. So it's going to be Mato in P2, Belastiu in 3rd. I Took You Dogs, meanwhile. Great double stack from McLaren. As they come out 3rd and 5th. T-Bone, meanwhile, in a great spot as everybody dove into the pits there. As he's on a fresh set of mediums, but comes out in 4th, whereas he was in 10th and nobody else was on the stop cycle. So despite not potentially getting the best possible outcome and pitting just a lap too soon, T-Bone certainly still in a good position, as is Dogs. XOD in 6th now, and of course does have that new front wing, which of course led to that delay in the pit lane, which is why the McLaren's sitting so well right now. Alamo in 7th, and then it's XM, Clip, and AZ Racing currently in the top 10. Dookie Monker opts for mediums. Dastardly Daddy goes for softs. Fred goes for mediums. Leaderly Bag is going to opt to stay out here, try and use those old tires to potentially try and get a chance at points, or potentially not wanting to... Actually, no, it wouldn't be a matter of double stacking, because his teammate of Jay Jackin has retired in this one. We will have a driver a lap down as well, as 83 has not managed to get on the lead lap. As now the Aston Martin of Maestro dives into the pits as J-Rab, who I think is Jay Jackin, voicing his displeasure at what happened there. DRS Maestro, meanwhile, making a very poor strategy call. He'll make up for it now as 83 go ham. 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags as he tries to get his lap back. And I imagine the Haas probably going to get disqualified here. Yeah, Menzo. Trying to send it to the inside. Yeah, it looked like, a mix of kind of the two, somebody turning in on the other, as well as some good old-fashioned EA collision physics. 83, meanwhile, has managed to get out ahead and will get that lap back, despite getting that 10-second due to overtaking under yellow flags. And he actually will retire at that point. It seems he ran a bit wide at turn 4. We'll jump on board with his teammate La Hava, as there's just the Haas on the gravel, so potentially trying to push that little bit too hard. And so we've got a retirement under safety car in this one. So I guess while we got a little bit of a lull in the action, if you wouldn't mind, definitely be sure to hit that like button down below. If you do get the chance, I'll go ahead and give myself that little bit of a plug right now. As well as, if you could subscribe to the channel, I'd very much appreciate that. Gonna try to, maybe upload a little bit more frequently, especially kind of as we get towards the start of the Formula 1 season. Might do some actual Formula 1 content, do some actual commentary kind of live, if that's potentially something that interests you, and you'd be potentially interested in that, getting an extra form of commentary. For, again, as many races as possible in this F1 season. Would appreciate it if you'd go down and hit that subscribe button as well. Again, we'll see what happens. You never know what could happen with life. Leaderly Bag, meanwhile, going to dive into the pits, trying to have the freshest tires on the grid. as it'll be a 7 or 8 lap sprint to the end of this race. But of course, safety car being brought out due to Jay Jackin and Menzo getting connected, and Jay Jackin not being able to stop his, going into the wall and ending up out of this race. Menzo, of course, being able to kind of survive with his car. But I think definitely an incident that stewards will have to review in this one. I imagine we should get back underway this lap. You can see those 3 trailing cars of Leaderly Bag, Zudi, and Ski2 Bike all working to catch up to the back of the grid as safety car is in this lap. So it's going to be the Haas of Lahavamato with control. But Belasiu, T-Bone, Dogs, XOD, and potentially even the likes of Alimo, XM, all with potential shots at climbing further up the field. So the Haas going to keep it slow. So we'll see when he chooses to take off. I imagine he's going to keep it pretty late. Of course, trying to keep it pretty consistently at around that 50, 60 mile an hour mark. Doing everything he can to make sure his tires are warm enough. But we are ready to go back racing. And he's actually going to take off very early here as the Haas opts to go even before the final 2 corners and gets a very comfortable jump. So he'll lead us across the line, and it's Lahava and Belasiu really on their own. T-Bone, not the greatest jump, as a bit of a concertina effect there. You can see a car running wide there in the background. Lahavamato with a 3/10 advantage as we go back to racing again. 8 laps left to go here. No DRS for this first one. But Belasiu looking very fighty here. Again, no changes throughout the grid as everybody single file without DRS assistance. Here comes Tukya Dogso. He's going to look to the inside of T-Bone. And he's not going to get it done. T-Bone, meanwhile, having to dive out of the way of his teammate of XOD, who are looking down the inside as well. So T-Bone dropping 2 spots. But it's now McLaren's 2 and 3. So they're on for a great result. It's just going to be a matter of can Dogs potentially try and be a tail gunner for his teammate, try and hold off the legs of XOD and T-Bone to try and give his teammate the best shot at a 1v1 for the win. But it's going to be 7 laps to go now. This time cross the line as we start lap number 30. And Belasiu setting a new fast lap of the race. XOD finding his way around the outside of Tukya Dogs, even without DRS. That's going to have to give Tukya Dogs his DRS assistance down into turn 3, but it's his teammate of Belasiu looking to the outside as we run up the hill into turn 3. You can see his teammate of Tukya Dogs getting the overtake there in the background, and we once again have a new leader in this race, and it's Belasiu, but he's going to have to have a tough job of defending here as he no longer has that DRS advantage, but still gets a really comfortable exit there as he'll be ahead of Havamato. XOD finds a way back past Tukya Dogs there in the background, but these lead 2 continuing to pull away, and Belasiu showing a lot of pace here. It's just a matter of can he hold on with the driver who comfortably led this race after the pit stop phase. As again, a number of drivers looking to find ways through, but 3/10 the gap between Belasiu and Mato. A little bit wide there for Belasiu, so potentially track limit's a concern. Big wiggle there for Tukya Dogs there in the background, but it's a new fastest lap for Belasiu. But here comes Lahava. Again, 4/10 is that gap, and it's been a lot of ERS usage for the McLaren, not so much for the Haas, who now with DRS going to look to the inside into turn 3, going to make it side by side, so it's going to be a wheel-to-wheel. McLaren, though, looking for the cutback, not going to find it immediately, and it's still going to be the Haas with DRS advantage. So Lahavamato retakes the lead. Alamo up into 3rd, actually, as XOD and him continue to battle. Tukya Dogs all the way down to 7th, so something clearly happened in that battle for the lead. XM, meanwhile, up into 5th. So XM in a great position as XOD and Alamo continue to battle Ghosted here. Neither wanting to make a mistake, and it's going to be XOD there briefly with the inside, but they're going to stay Ghosted. And as they make their way into Sector 3, it's going to be XOD finally finding that inside. So I think it'll be definitely interesting to find out what happened between XOD and Dogs as T-Bone goes wide, and that's going to bring out another safety car. So T-Bone goes wide there, and I think just potentially lost the car, maybe due to some contact. And once again, we have another late safety car. Everybody does manage to beat that safety car out. So anybody who wishes can get that free pit stop in. Dastardly Daddy and Fred taking advantage and diving into the pit. T-Bone voicing his displeasure at what happened. As you could see his car backwards, but didn't see exactly what happened leading up to that incident. But what that will allow is Belostiu to recover a lot of that ERS that he used in that opportunity to overtake, because we saw that gap opening up pretty comfortably on Mato, as Mato had way more ERS, especially with the amount of laps left to go. But now it's going to be a question of who all opts to dive into the pits here. Mato, I think, has to stay out. Belostiu feints going in. The top four all stay out. Dog stays out. It's going to be Menzo diving in, as will AZ Racing. Zudi actually was not in the lobby for a brief bit, but he will rejoin. And he's actually going to come out in actually, no, his AI is going to dive into the pits. So he'll be towards the tail of the field there. But they'll form up back under the Aston Martin safety car. So it'll be La Hava once again getting us back underway. It will either be this lap or the next lap that will get back to racing, as I don't know if it's a minimum of 2 or 3 laps that is required once the safety car comes back in. I know it's at least 2, because I know if you have, because I believe if you have an incident, so I guess in this case, if you were to have a major incident when lap 34 is ongoing, you would not get a safety car, you would not get a virtual safety car, you would just keep racing. It would just be green to the end. Doesn't seem that it'll be this lap unless we get a very late safety car in message. So it at least appears that we'll only get 2 laps of racing. So it'll be a 2-minute sprint to the line. So the question will be, can La Hava hold on? We saw how much he was able to keep with Belostiu, even without loads of pace. Or, sorry, without using loads of ERS, I should say. So it's going to be very interesting, but this will be the last safety car lap of this race. And it'll be, again, 2-lap push to the finish. But certainly been an eventful one. Had a bunch of tight racing early. The pit stop phase really kind of defined this race for a long stretch. And then it was Menzo and Jay Jackin having an incident on lap number, I believe that was 27, where they came together. And now we're on the second safety car of this stint. But if you're La Hava Mato now, you took that early jump on that safety car restart. You just kind of kept it nice and slow for that point. As safety car is in this lap, so the Haas with control once again. So now if you're La Hava Mato, what is the decision here? Obviously, you keep it slow again. Make sure that that safety car gets into the pit so that way you don't get that engine over-revving. But the question now, how do you give yourself the best chance? And of course, XM, we'll just call him XM, and a good shot for a podium as well for Aston Martin. But again, going to keep it slow. Going to keep it even slower this time, actually. As Belostiu looking to the inside, as everybody's stacking up. And there goes La Hava Mato, so he'll take off. Belostiu looking to keep with him. And it's 2 laps to the checkered flag here in Austria. And now we're back and under green flag conditions. And it's not as good of a jump for La Hava. Only 4/10 is the advantage. But the question can be, does he have enough pace? Does he have enough ERS to hold off Belostiu as they'll blast up into turn number 2? Of course, no DRS here. XOD looking to potentially be a factor. He's actually forcing Belostiu a little bit defensive here. So that's going to be great for Lahavamato. But it's a half a second advantage as of right now. But it's not a great exit there for XOD. As we go through turn 4, again, most of the field not changing. Leader lead bag potentially looking to make moves on those soft tires, but do they have enough life? As most of the grid is spread out, but it'll be one lap. DRS assistance will be available. Ski 2 Bike dropping down the order. Big mistake there from him. Menzo jumps back up into 11th, but picks up a 3-second time penalty. So that's probably his chance at points over. Unless a driver up the order has more penalties. And remember, he had that incident. But we'll start the final lap here at Austria. DRS gonna be activated. On the Papaya McLaren really has 2 chances. So is he kept enough ERS in the tank here? We'll run through turn 1 to about 2/3 of a second. The gap up ahead, and you see that rear wing on Belastiu's car opening up as here they go up the hill. Gap closes to 4/10. Gap closes to within 3/10. Not gonna have the move into turn 3. So really only one more good opportunity. Because then once you get all the way back, it's gonna have to be a lunge. 3.5 is the gap. Yellow flags behind as a bunch of drivers swapping the order. Lahavamato goes defensive. Belostiu gonna have to go around the outside. Lahavamato braver on the brakes. It's Belostiu looking for the cutback as Mato stays out in front. Looking to just hold on for now a few more corners. That's the Haas. Again, just one more sector left to go. About 20 seconds. To hold on to beat the McLaren, who's going to be dumping all that power, try and get any sort of an opportunity. They're going to come up over the hill. He's not going to find it. One corner left to go for Mato to hold on. And as they come through the final corner and to the line, it will be the Haas of Lahavamato. It'll be Belostiu in second. It'll end up being XM in third. XOD ends up coming across the line in 4th, and it's DRS Mitro. Our Tookie Dogs Alamo ends up coming in 7th. Zudi, meanwhile, crosses the line in 8th. Menzo does come across the line in 9th, but of course will have that penalty to review. And then, of course, 10th I did miss. But, of course, congratulations to the Haas. Belostiu, though, I think a deserved driver of the day. Great drive from him. As, yeah, again, very, very good race. Very interesting result there. Yeah, Belostiu definitely would want more, but 12th to 2nd, certainly a good day, and picks up that extra point for fastest lap. Zudi, 15th to 8th as well. So, again, another great result. And it was Purple Snake rounding out the points. So we'll stay online here. I am going to go ahead and join up because T-Bone definitely had something in there. So we'll go ahead and join this party. We'll see if it is broadcasting. It'll take me a couple seconds to load. But yeah, again, very, very interesting race. So we'll see if, yeah, we'll, of course, jump in with a couple of the guys here who were in that race. And again, I'm trying to see who all, yeah, because it's Dogs, XOD, and T-Bone. So number of drivers finishing here pretty solid. Definitely an interesting race. Yeah, no. See, a couple of you muted. Don't know if any of you kind of want to chime in as to kind of how that race went. Of course, XOD definitely taking top result of the guys in here right now. Of course, T-Bone kind of falling out there. But yeah, XOD 4th, Tookie Dog 6th. Don't know if either of you guys want to speak to kind of how that race went.
Well, it's Austria, bro. It's always nose to tail, if you can hear me. And it's extremely difficult when your tyres are getting a bit weary. Any sort of little mistakes is causing issues. You don't really want to lose the DRS. It was quite hard to try and build it back up, but we all stayed together most of the race, to be honest. So it was fantastic, my view on it. Yeah, it was definitely a bunch of interesting, tight racing in there. I don't know what your thought process was, because obviously once you get that first safety car, I think that's a pretty obvious pit. Was there anything crossing your mind where, hey, maybe something could happen,
where I could
Well,
opt for
to be
softs
honest,
here, but to opt for softs there instead of mediums. Potentially trying to take that
yeah,
gamble.
I actually didn't want another safety car after the first one. I could have finished the race on the hards, but obviously when it came out, when it did, softs, it's a risk. You can get the fastest lap, and you will go fast, but it's quite hard to get through the field on this track. Because if you make moves and you lose, if you lose the delta, I mean, you've got to be pretty quick. The only option is if you go on softs, you've got to be one of the front runners and risk it all. But luckily, on that last safety, a lot of people didn't box. I was screaming to people like, "Is anyone boxing? Is anyone boxing?" But nobody did. Luckily in front, so.
Can I
And
just quickly say, man,
like a top 10 finish for me is good anyway, so I don't
guys
mind.
quickly say, man, I want to shout out Vacant Haddock. Thank him for doing this for us, man. You were
Yeah,
awesome
without a
tonight. You killed
doubt,
it.
fantastic, bro.
Yeah, of
Amazing.
Comms.
Go on, and
course.
guys, go like and subscribe to his channel, and also the race winner mottos here. But that's all I gotta say, man. Back to you, Vacant.
Yeah,
Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
I'm gonna leave now, but good luck.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. And yeah, we'll go ahead and bounce it over to the race winner, Lahava Mato. Lahava, I think, you ran at the front for a large part of that race, but that kind of safety car really threw a wrench really in that second stint domination. But I don't know what was kind of going through your mind as well when that safety car did come out. But again, just trying to especially hold off Belastiu first on that kind of safety car restart, on that first safety car restart, and then in that 2 lap sprint to the end.
Oh, thank you guys. Wow, what a race. You know,
I love this guy.
the qualifying. I don't know where it came from. Like I made a couple laps in T time trial before the race. I I I didn't expect that. I didn't know how it came from. Did the game have a new patch or something? I don't know what happened, but I was lucky to be in the in the pole. But yeah, in the race, I was struggling with the full fuel strategy. So luckily, the guys overtook me in the first 2, 3 laps, and I was just following them, looking, being patient and looking what they are doing, and they was fighting against each other. And when they made a collision in the turn 3, that was my chance to go. And yeah, the safety cars, those was actually about to mess my race. But and luckily in the end, everything went really well. When I went to the first time in the pit, that was actually the breaking point. Like I don't know what happened for the guys. I saw, was it leader? It was Dieter's. I think he was in second place in that moment. I don't know what happened to him in the pit stop, because there was huge gap after the pit stop, and then he started to fight with the other guys. That helped me a lot. And leader back actually helped me a lot also. He was giving me the wing to get away from those guys. So shout out to him. And when the safety car came out, I was like, fuck, what I'm doing now? Like I took the risk. I go to the pit, take the mediums, and shout out to Bella. He made me sweat all those last 10 to 9 laps. I was sweating.
Yeah, it's actually what I was, just kind of looking to go back into. Obviously, less than 0.3 of a second separating you at the line, and after that first safety car restart, took the lead away from you in that early stages. I don't know if you, were keeping anything different in mind, especially in those last 2 laps, where it's, okay,
I
how,
knew it will be a hard place to be in front when the last lap will start. Uh, but I also was counting that maybe Bella will use more DRS, so I was only trying to save enough DRS for the last lap. And also this today I didn't have any racing engineers, so it was all by myself. I didn't know what will be exactly the best place to make the restart, but I think I actually managed it really well in both times when it happened. The 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 first restart, I was only kind of, I don't say I was playing, but still kind of letting him to be in front of me, just in case if he will be really quick to save the DRS for the last lap. But I don't know what happened there. He probably made a mistake. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It was so hectic. I don't remember what happened. But then I took a small gap, and then the something happened in the track and came the second safety car, and I was just trying to take a good restart, and luckily I managed it.
Yeah, of course.
And I also helped Bella to take the fastest lap, so he get the one extra point for that.
Yeah. So yeah, and of course, congratulations to you. I believe that does, again, just kind of pulling up the kind of standings that I was able to get from T-Bone. It does give you the Drivers' Championship lead. So of course, best of luck heading into that next round. But it was definitely a good race. Again, congratulations to you, as well as good work to who was it? Bella and XMY Hughes 10, who has just joined us. So congratulations
Also,
to
that
him.
wretched DRS Maestro requests an interview also after that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So of course, congratulations to you three. So I guess
XM just voice shared, by the way. Sorry to cut you off.
yeah. So we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and go to XM first. XM, I think definitely coming across the line third after a couple of kind of penalties there, but I think definitely you'd be happy to get a podium, especially with those kind of chaotic last 9 or 10 laps.
Oh yeah, sorry mate, mic out a little bit at the start, but yeah, no, I think the track limits there, that's what made the difference today. And yeah, I'll gladly take a P3. I saw what happened to T-Bone as well. He went flying when he hit the wall. So yeah, that was.
Dogs rear-ended me, So.
I do feel for him as well. Yeah, I didn't know that he hit you there. But, yeah.
I was hit by the dogs, viciously. No, I'm kidding. It was all me.
Yeah, fair enough. All good. But yeah, no, GG's to everyone else.
Yeah, obviously we heard a little bit from Lahava how those kind of last couple laps pretty chaotic, especially. How from his perspective, just trying to hold off Bella. I don't know if you can speak to some of that chaos, especially in that mid pack, which was active, or not necessarily even the mid pack. It was we'll call it the chase pack, which was very tight for the majority of that race.
Yeah, it was, to be fair. There was a lot of people in that front pack, and I felt like there were a lot of people making moves, and this corner does invite overtaking, especially in turn 3 and some other areas as well on the track. So. Yeah, it was very aggressive and elbows out from everyone. But yeah, I feel like if you kept your nose clean, then yeah, you probably would have made it far.
Yeah, but of course, congratulations again on that P3. Definitely good result there. And then I guess last one before we'll go ahead and cut off for the evening. DRS Maestro as well with us. Started P4, ended up finishing P5. Also, if I'm not mistaken, led for decent chunks. I don't believe it was, because it was DRS Maestro who led for chunks there, as opposed to his teammate. Maestro, I think definitely, not necessarily the result you'd be hoping for, but I think you can definitely be happy with a P5, even if it's you kind of went backwards based on your starting position.
Yeah, I messed up my strategy, man. I actually messed up. I was supposed to pit when that last safety. Was it the first safety car came out?
First safety car. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I was gonna come out in front of the safety car, and I unfortunately came out behind it, so I was stuck behind. And then when I pitted, I came out P9. And that safety car ruined my race because I was second, and I had put like a 1.7. Second gap between me and the guy in third. So like my focus was on the guy in front because I was actually pulling the gap on him now. Closing the gap. And that came out. So yeah, that pretty much ruined my... It's a lot of things that happened, but I'm just happy my teammate finished P3. So we take those points.
Yeah, good constructors points as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think definitely you can, definitely take that victory there. Again, even if it's not necessarily the result that you wanted. But
yeah, it's a lot of things that happen. Even the T-Bone thing happened in front of me. Like, I just sent a clip. Oh my god.
I think it was DRS's car that made him go flying as well.
Yeah, no,
I was calling Code Brown on that one for sure.
I was trying to keep.
I've had some good highlights this season.
Yeah, T-Bone, I sent it in the Star Cup. So close
sure
to me.
You did. Sure you
the Mercedes.
did.
I'm afraid of the Mercedes. Anytime I'm close to the Mercedes, something happens.
Yeah. But yeah, of course.
Anytime you're close to anyone, something happens.
No, any of them is no. It's both Mercedes cars. It's you and XOD. Something I don't know what it is, but it's the Mercedes.
Especially around Austria, definitely a challenge there. But again,
Yeah.
very small of y'all. Again, congratulations
Well, we
on
have
the
a couple
results.
more guys waiting to be interviewed. Like
Oh,
another one
okay.
didn't race, but he still wants an
Oh,
interview.
yeah,
He said,
shout
Okay,
out
I
to,
guess
shout
no,
out
I'm
to
kidding. I'm
another,
kidding.
Another one
I'm
is
kidding,
here?
bro. He's already done like
Ah.
7 interviews.
shout out to another one as well. He helped me with the race strategy, so shout out to him as well. He
Yeah.
helped me there. Helped me.
But
More
yeah.
than anything, man. Shout out Vacant Haddock, guys.
Yeah,
Killed it
thank you for
tonight.
that.
Yeah. Thanks for the
Yeah,
comms as well, bro.
Happy to
Appreciate it.
dive in. Again, it was lucky that the timing worked out. It was definitely a good race, and definitely good lucky to y'all in the next rounds here. But that'll be it. So I don't know what round 5 is, but what's round 5? If anybody knows.
Where's round
You're the
5?
man,
All right,
Vacant.
round 5 is somewhere, but so good luck to all of y'all at that. But that'll do it for the night. Have a good
It will
one.
be Imola.
Imola, gotcha.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Was it definitely one of my the one circuit that I've been able to go to? So I'll always have that as a personal favorite. But definitely good luck to y'all on that, and